It's supposed to be the safest place we know, but what happens when you're home alone and that sense of security suddenly shatters? Tonight, we'll dive into 3 deeply disturbing true home encounters, each one more terrifying than the last. From sinister phone calls in the dead of night to hidden secrets lurking above your head and mysterious knocks. Close your curtains, check the doors, and brace yourself, because these stories might make you think twice about ever staying home alone again. There's something deeply unsettling about silence when you know someone else is on the line, just listening. They never speak, never breathe audibly, yet you know they're there, patiently waiting. But waiting for what, exactly? I wish I never had to find out. My parents were away for the weekend, leaving me home alone for the first time. At 17, I felt perfectly capable of taking care of myself. Our neighbourhood was safe and the house felt comfortable. Friday evening, after dinner, I settled into my favourite chair, flipping channels aimlessly, planning a relaxing weekend alone. I had no idea how quickly the quiet comfort I'd been enjoying would become my worst nightmare. Around 10 p.m, my phone buzzed on the coffee table, displaying an unknown number. I rarely answered unknown numbers, but I figured maybe my parents were calling from a different phone. Picking it up, I answered casually, "Hello?" Nothing. Silence. Not even static. I waited a few seconds, repeated, "Hello?" Still, nothing. Mildly annoyed, I hung up and shrugged it off. Probably just the wrong number. About 15 minutes later, the phone vibrated again. That same unknown number. Again, I answered, this time sharper, "Hello?" Only silence responded. But something felt off. This wasn't the innocent silence of a missed dial. It felt purposeful, deliberate. I strained my ears and realized someone was indeed breathing. Slow, quiet, almost careful. Unnerved, I quickly hung up. Trying to distract myself, I switched to Netflix, but within 5 minutes, the phone buzzed again. Same number. Now, my heart was racing. I ignored it, but they called repeatedly, each vibration sending chills down my spine. Finally, unable to bear the tension, I picked up and almost shouted, "Who is this? Stop calling!" Silence. Then the call ended abruptly. At midnight, convinced they'd finally stopped, I turned off the TV and prepared for bed. Just as I settled into the dark bedroom, my phone lit up again. This time, a text from the unknown number. "I'm outside. Can I come in?" Panic surged through me. Every hair stood on end. Slowly, heart hammering, I peered through the blinds into the darkness outside my window. The yard was empty, silent, yet somehow I felt watched. Another text buzzed through. "I can see you." My hands trembled as I dialed emergency services, my voice shaking, explaining that someone was harassing me, claiming to be outside. Police promised a car immediately. Waiting anxiously, I paced in my bedroom. Suddenly, the power flickered and went out completely, plunging the house into darkness. In that silence, every small noise felt magnified. I grabbed the flashlight, creeping carefully towards the living room. Then I froze. Footsteps. Not outside, but inside my house. Clear, slow, deliberate steps moving quietly downstairs, approaching the staircase. The terror was suffocating. Desperate, I hid behind my bedroom door, barely breathing, eyes fixed on the darkness of my hallway. The footsteps drew closer, every step louder, heavier. I heard them stop at my doorway. My heart thundered painfully. A voice whispered through the door, chillingly calm, barely audible. "I told you I was coming in." Suddenly, sirens wailed outside, the red and blue lights flooding through my windows. Whoever stood behind the door bolted away, footsteps pounding frantically down the hall, disappearing into the darkness. Police stormed in moments later, searching thoroughly. They found my back door wide open, unlocked, despite me distinctly remembering locking it earlier. After an extensive search, the officers assured me the intruder had fled, advising me to lock all windows and doors carefully. They stayed nearby for a while, calming me, before leaving me alone once more. Exhausted yet too scared to sleep, I nervously checked each door, ensuring everything was secure. But as I reached my back door, a chill gripped me. Something sat neatly on my back porch. My spare house key, the one hidden deep beneath the flower pot only my family knew about, attached with a small note that simply read, "See you soon." Every home has secrets. Sometimes it's a hidden passage, other times an old, locked attic that's been forgotten for decades. But what if those secrets come alive, creeping closer, night after night, until they're standing directly above you as you sleep? That forgotten attic door became my nightmare, and what I found up there still haunts me to this day. When I inherited my grandmother's old house, I felt a strange mix of sadness and excitement. It was a charming Victorian-style home, isolated on the outskirts of town, filled with memories from my childhood. I moved in, excited to restore the place and live quietly alone. The attic had been locked for as long as I could remember, no key found anywhere. Grandma always said she'd lost it decades ago. I never worried about it. After all, an old attic door seemed like the least of my concerns. But as I would soon discover, this attic door hid something far more sinister than dust and old furniture. My first weeks in the house passed uneventfully. The creaking floors, drafty halls, and whispering walls were all typical of an older house. But one night, around 3 a.m, a slow creeping sound jolted me awake, a sound that made my heart thump uncontrollably. Carefully, I sat up, just listening. The noise came from directly above my bedroom, the attic door. It sounded as though something heavy was being dragged across the attic floor, but that was impossible. The door had been locked for decades. I convinced myself it was an animal, squirrels or raccoons finding their way inside. Still, the uneasy feeling lingered until morning. Over the next few nights, the noises intensified. Dragging turned into soft footsteps pacing above me. Sleep became impossible. Each creak filled my mind with unsettling scenarios. Finally, I decided I had to see inside the attic. I called a locksmith who arrived the next day. He struggled with the rusty lock for almost an hour, finally forcing it open with a loud pop. As he left, he gave me a wary glance and muttered softly, "Be careful up there." His words unsettled me deeply. The attic was dusty, filled with old furniture covered by sheets, stacked boxes, and a stale, heavy atmosphere. I explored briefly, but found nothing unusual, just layers of dust and neglect. Slightly relieved, I locked the attic again, convinced the noises would stop now that I've confirmed the attic was empty. But they didn't. That night, the footsteps grew heavier, more deliberate. They paced in circles, seemingly directly above my bed, followed by soft whispers, barely audible yet undeniably human. Panic gripped me as the whispers slowly grew louder, more frantic, as if urgently trying to communicate. Unable to bear it anymore, I grabbed a flashlight. I took a deep breath and I climbed the stairs towards the attic door. As I reached for the handle, my stomach knotted. The door was unlocked again. slightly ajar. Heart racing, I pushed the door open slowly. My flashlight beam pierced the darkness, revealing nothing at first. Trembling, I stepped inside, immediately feeling a chilling, unnatural cold enveloping me. Shivering, I moved forward carefully, the wooden floor groaning under each step. A sudden noise behind me, a low chuckle, it sent chills down my spine. I spun around, flashlight shaking violently, revealing nothing. Breathing unevenly, I took another hesitant step backwards. Something brushed softly against my ankle, cold and wet. Panicking, I shined the flashlight down, illuminating something horrifying. A pale, skeletal hand emerging from beneath an old sheet-covered trunk, fingers twitching slowly. Terrified, I stumbled backwards, tripping and dropping my flashlight. Darkness consumed me instantly. Then, clearly, from mere feet away, a voice whispered hoarsely, "You found me." Scrambling blindly, I found the flashlight and sprinted downstairs, slamming and locking the attic door behind me. I called the police, who searched every inch of the attic thoroughly. They found no sign of anyone, no skeletal hand, no footprints, nothing. The officers reassured me I was likely imagining things due to stress and exhaustion, but as they left, one officer paused, turning back towards me with a confused expression. "By the way," he said slowly, "how long have you had that old trunk in your bedroom?" My blood turned ice. What trunk? Following his gaze, I saw it clearly, sitting at the foot of my bed, the same dusty sheet-covered trunk from the attic. My heart raced, mind numb with dread. The officer left, clearly unaware of my distress. As the door clicked shut behind him, I watched in helpless horror as the trunk slowly creaked open, revealing the dark, empty interior. From somewhere within the shadows, a voice whispered gently, almost warmly, "Welcome home." It always starts innocently, a desperate knock on the door late at night, someone pleading for help. Your first instinct might be compassion, trust, empathy. But what happens when that pleading voice at your door isn't what it seems? What happens when kindness becomes your greatest mistake? It was a chilly October night. My roommate was away visiting family, leaving me alone in our small, off-campus house for the weekend. I was relieved to have some quiet time to study and relax, unaware of how quickly everything would change. Around 11 p.m, deep into a horror movie marathon, I was startled by a sudden, frantic knocking at my front door. Pausing the film, I listened carefully. A muffled voice shouted desperately through the wood. "Please, please, help me! They're after me! Please open the door!" My heart immediately jumped in panic. Who could be in trouble this late? Cautiously, I approached the door. Peering through the peephole, I saw a figure, hooded and hunched, face barely visible beneath that jacket hood. They rocked anxiously, glancing nervously around. The voice, trembling, came again urgently. "Please hurry! They're right behind me!" Something felt deeply off. The street behind the figure was silent, empty. There was no sign of anyone pursuing them. Suspicion gnawed at my mind. I'm calling the police," I said nervously through the locked door. "Just wait right there." Immediately, their body language changed. They straightened slightly, freezing. A chilling silence filled the air. In a voice suddenly calmer, colder, they replied, "No, don't call anyone. Just let me in." Fear surged through me. I stepped back, dialing emergency services anyway, whispering quietly to the dispatcher. As I spoke, the figure began violently pounding on my door, rattling it wider. "You shouldn't have done that," they hissed through the wood. My skin crawled with dread. I stumbled backwards, trembling as the pounding intensified, becoming aggressive kicks. Wood splintered loudly. Panicking, I sprinted towards my bedroom, locking the door behind me. Through rapid breaths, I explained desperately to the dispatcher that someone was breaking into my home. The dispatcher urgently instructed me to hide and stay quiet. Moments later, the front door gave way with a violent crash, echoing loudly. Footsteps stomped inside, heavy and deliberate. They slowly moved through the house, searching, drawers opening, items crashing loudly on the floor. I hid in my closet, body rigid with fear, hands clasped tightly over my mouth. The footsteps slowly moved towards my bedroom. The doorknob rattled violently, followed by angry pounding. "I know you're in there," the intruder said in a terrifyingly calm voice. "It won't take me long to find you." Silence. Then came slow scratching, as if they were dragging something sharp along the wooden door, deliberately tormenting me. My heart raced uncontrollably. Police sirens suddenly wailed outside, the blue and red lights flashing through the windows. Footsteps quickly fled the hallway, followed by silence. Officers swiftly arrived and secured the house, searching thoroughly. The intruder had vanished, escaping through the broken front door, leaving behind a trail of destruction, but nothing else. Shaken deeply, I decided to spend the night at my friend's house across town. As officers escorted me outside, I noticed something disturbing on my front porch. Something small, yet deeply unsettling. A folded piece of paper sat exactly where the intruder had stood moments before breaking down my door. Hands trembling, I unfolded it slowly. The note read, simply and ominously, "You should have opened the door. Next time, I won't knock." Chilled to the bone, I glanced around nervously. Shadows seemed darker, streets seemed emptier. With police nearby, I still felt no safer. I knew that somewhere, out there, they were still watching, just waiting patiently for another chance.